There we go. Can you hear me? Okay, this is on. So, technology. It's great when it works. That's actually my line of work. I am a software engineer, computer programmer by trade. So, sermons, being up here, being in front, this is not normal. You know, what's normal for me is computers, talking with people, solving problems. So it was a couple months ago, probably end of November, going into December. You know, there was some events going on in the world that kind of was having, thoughts, I need to talk about something. Because in technology, there's a lot of things that I see. And there's a lot of things that I see outside of technology that people are responding to positively and not. So we come here about once a month and we go and we film all the devotional videos. I'm not sure if you guys have seen them online. But we come in here and we film them. We film, 4 of these mini episodes or 5, depending upon the month. And as I'm sitting here, I'm listening to Pastor Michael, and it's like, I have an idea. I have this great idea, and I'm going to talk about it. And then, because of who I am and my ADHD and forgetting things and busy, January comes around. Oh, you ready? No. Andy Delaware, elder, could you do the sermon? I'll come back again March. I'll be ready then. The thing is, it's the exact same thought, but it had to percolate. It had to go through its process in my mind. I had to work out the details and see where it would go. Last year, this was 2020. This was a tough year. There's so many concerns that are pressing around everyone. The thing that keeps on coming back that I see is, mental health, trying to be healthy in where are you at with what you do, with what you think, with what you take in, media, what you consume, and all the rest of that. And I actually had, in December, a former coworker that passed away, and it started to bring back thoughts and old ideas and things that I have dealt with, and I'm sure many others have dealt with. And so I thought that led into expanding upon this idea. So for a moment here, let's go back and look at the verse. The verse is very simple. For we live by faith, not by sight. Please bow your heads so we can pray. Dear Lord, please be with me. Be with me over the next few minutes and help me to present a message. Help me present a viewpoint, and help me share with others a point of view that I hope reflects you and reflects your will for us and all these things. In your name, amen. So, we live by faith, not by sight. That's kind of hard. It's a very simple verse. It is, I would almost say, it is the ultimate showdown between two opposing thoughts. I am a mistake. I look back at my beginnings. I started off, I was born with a club foot, couldn't walk. The foot was curved down underneath. The picture's not me, but I found Google and the internet. Always helps. I have disabilities. There's a hole in my heart. I have a heart murmur. I'm actually deaf in one ear, like 95% deaf. Going through all those things, and then when you're a young child, it's like, sports, yes, I want to do that. No, I can't. overcompensate. I would be 7 and, see these people, BMX bikes, get on the bike, go riding, jump, and, oh, that's awesome. I'm going to do that. Mom, buy me a bike. And I get this bike and I go and do it. And at 7, I learned there is a difference between stunt bikes that are light and huffy, toughy, 20, 30-pound bikes. And when you go to do a jump, it doesn't really work. It kind of falls straight down. Boom, crash. Story of my 7-year-old life. Boom, crash. Always the things that I want to do and never can quite do the way that I want. Look at other things. I am a mistake. I look back and there was these things of like, I'm a foreigner. I am a Latino. Robert is not my birth name. I'm Mexican. I'm Asian. I'm all over the place. I've all throughout my life been in this camp, that camp, but never part of any. It's a very difficult place to be. It's a very difficult place to try to understand. Having physical issues, having these other issues, and I was adopted. Adoption is an interesting thing. It was 1978, that's when I was born. Just a few weeks ago, I just had my 43rd birthday. So 43, and then looking back, and then, you look at all this and, family. My siblings are all older than me. My sister is 19 years older than me, and my brother is 21 years older than me. That brings all sorts of angst growing up. You go into looking at that I also had an older family. My mindset, the way that I was raised, did not align with my peers. Start going into things of like, I could not really understand the other kids my age. I could not understand a lot of things, when you're still at that point where your grandmother made you your shirt. Yeah, because that's what she did in the 70s, it was great. And wearing a 70s, shirt in the 80s was one of those things of like, you get kind of pointed at a little bit. You get kind of looked at. You look at all this and it's like, adoption was another odd thing. As I was going through and doing some of the research and all this, I found out that, adoptees, those who have gone through it, they're almost twice as likely as children that have been brought up with their biological parents to have mood disorders, anxiety, depression, behavioral issues. So behavioral issues. I come to the States and I go to, my mom takes me to the dorm where my sister, who I didn't know was my sister at the time, was at. And so she goes and hugs her mom. And I go up and I start banging on her side. Stop, don't do that. Don't touch my mom. The relationships are, and as I did research, over this time, adoptees have difficulty with relationships. They like to keep people at a distance, Yeah, maybe that's why computers were so good. It keeps people at a distance. I can type to them. They don't have to see me. They don't have to interact directly with me. I can solve problems. I can do all these different kinds of things. And it's challenging. Go through all that, and then, what's the next stage that comes along with life? You start being a young adult, and it's like, I've been hearing for the past, few months just, all these other things of those that are young, those that are the millennial, those that are the Gen X, Gen Z, I'm going to make something else new, all those different things, they're all struggling. And then I remember I struggled too. I didn't finish high school. I didn't finish high school. I went to college at 17. I moved out of the house. And now I have 4 boys. Now I look at my kids and I'm like, 17? I did that? I was dumb. And then, because now I'm looking at, my 19 going on 20-year-old, and it's like, are you really sure you want to move out? Are you really sure? Have you really thought this through? And then I look back at me, I was like, I just, boom, I went. Never thought, never looked. And then, as you go through that life, you get confused about identity, heritage. All of a sudden, you're thrust into college, and everything is there. Everyone's around you, and there's all these different groups of like, hey, we came and had a childhood like this. Come join us, be like us. Only I could never be or act or do anything like that group. Like, okay, forget that. I'm going to go over here. I can be in this group because I checked 2 of the boxes. I can be here. No, that didn't work out. I remember, and the best part is during growing up, you need to have that older mentor that is not in your family. Someone who can be that word of advice. And I'll never forget, I had this conversation with a professor that, I told him, I was like, I'm a chameleon. I can be like this to this group. I can be like this to that group. But it's hard. And I get, I don't want to say I get depressed because, that brings all those connotations. But, when you just fight through it, depression you push to the back. No, this isn't depression. This isn't me trying to hide things. This isn't me trying to be that which I'm not, and then conflict, and when you go home at night, or when you go home to your family, and you're like, yes, no, I wasn't doing anything. Nope, I was doing nothing. Nope, not at all. But it gets pretty difficult looking at that. And then as you're going through being that young adult, it's like, it comes back to our verse. How was I living? How are we living even now? Was it by faith or by sight? Sight is so easy. You can go to anyone and say, oh, okay, I look at you, I see this, I see that, I see that, therefore you are. I can look in my own life. Facebook was wonderful, and then it became toxic, and then it's a cesspool, and it's nothing but, oh, did I do this? Did I do that? Do I measure up? Ads that get targeted based upon what you clicked on. You hover on something. Oh, you've been there for 32 milliseconds. Oh, 64 milliseconds. We're going to give you more of that and hide the rest of that. What else is going on? Oh, you're looking at that. Oh, you pause there. You like that. I'm going to give you 10 times as much as that. We are getting caught up in sight, not in faith. Not in faith of the hope of that which we cannot see. The opposite of sight. There is this verse, and we'll read it. Ecclesiastes 7:13 through 15. Consider what God has done. Who can straighten what he has made crooked? When times are good, be happy. But when times are bad, consider this. God has made the one as well as the other. Therefore, no one can discover anything about their future. In this meaningless life of mine, I have seen both of these, the righteous perishing with the righteous, and the wicked living long in their wickedness. And here's the other interesting thing. This was actually a title card in front of a movie. I over my life, I am a movie buff. I like to watch a lot of movies. This was actually what made me think of it, but then made me think of the whole, is it the whole I don't know. That one phrase, who can straighten what he has made crooked? It's like, I have the club foot. Is it right that this is fixed? Is it right that we look at life of like, I need my problems to all go away. I need all the crookedness to go, and I need it to be flat. It's like we have that innate desire that we cannot have pain, we cannot have, everything needs to be smooth sailing. And it comes back to this, and it's like, I don't know. It's why? Why is this happening? It's all these questions that we have. And as I look at it, it doesn't really matter if you're young, if you're middle, if you're young adult, or if you're even older. I mean, 43, I don't know what I classify myself as anymore, but it's like, I still ask these questions. Why? Why, God? Why are you doing this to me? Why are you allowing this? 2020 has been a great year to look back on this. It's like, why is this going on? This is terrible. What do we hope to learn except how to fight with each other, how to argue with each other, how to get caught up in things that, people that, these are our friends, these are our family. We're letting stuff divide us. We're letting our own fears separate us. And when you get separated, you lose your strength. You lose your support. It's all very much back to, is the glass half empty or half full? I like to say that I am a realistic pessimist. I like to play on both sides of that coin. I like to say, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. That's my mantra. I do that in work. I do that everywhere. I do that throughout life. It's like I have a history of, I'm going to put on that smile. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to look all the part, but I'm going to be prepared for that backstabbing. I'm going to be prepared for that hurt. I'm going to be prepared, and then what happens in my relationships, even my personal relationships with my family? You can get close, I can open up, but not that far. I still have to hold back. There's still that part of me, it's like, I trust, but I don't trust that much. Is anyone else like that? I found out looking through, these different psychological online profiles of like, oh, okay, you only represent 3% of the population. Great. That doesn't help me. It's always difficult when you go and you look at these things of, all of this. Then, you go back to that Ecclesiastes, there's that happiness. When times are good, you're happy. It's like that, that part of your life is like, it's going good, everything is awesome. I was 21, I come out of college, everything is great, I'm 21, I have the birth of my first son. This is like awesome. This is like special. I'm having the beginnings of my own family. It's like one of the most wonderful things until he was 18 months old. And then I saw him, and I didn't see him, I saw me. I saw me given away. I saw me abandoned. And I saw me, it was one of those times of like, I had connected during college, during that whole searching for everything with my birth family, but at that point, it just broke in me. I was like, nope, this is my family, my adopted family, this is my family, the rest of you are acquaintances. I can look and see blood type, disease history, but connection, I cut off again. I need to protect myself. It can be really painful. Then you look at it, we're on top of the world. Okay, so I didn't finish my degree. Okay, so I got this great job. Okay, so, this job comes through and they relocate us to Boston. And, this is the first time I had that experience where you have movers come in, and doesn't matter what your house looks like, but when someone else is paying for it and you see this come through of, oh, whatever's there, we put it in a box, They took our car, our oil-leaking badness of a car, and they put it in the truck. And you're like all embarrassed, like, oh, the car is going to leak on someone else's stuff, and, all the rest of it. But hey, we're on top of the world. I have another son. I have Sean. This is the greatest. Everything is going so good. Isn't that what you want? Isn't that where you're supposed to go? You work hard, kind of. I wasn't an A student. Okay, so you work hard, you try to believe, and everything is going to be awesome. And then there was this Tuesday event. I try to call my wife, and I'm there in Boston, and I can't. All the lines are busy. Oh, this is weird. No big deal. Let's go to the lunchroom. Go to the lunchroom when we see this. And I was like, what's going on? Go upstairs to the top of the building we're at, jet fighters going overhead there in Boston. It's like, I don't know what's going on. Go, try to get back to my family, all the traffic and everything else, trying to get back to there. And then the market changes, technology changes. I lose my job. It's not fired. It's called a reduction in force. Your position is no longer needed. People were spending way too much money in the early 2000s on pipe dreams. It was an interesting time. So what happens? You do what any good person does. You give up. Oh, well, who cares? It doesn't matter. Life is rough, and this is where we're going, and all this happened right at the time that Jennifer was pregnant with Kevin. And it's like, what do we do? Where do we go? This is, do we go back to Texas? Do we go back to Ohio? Where do we go? Well, there's only so much money in the bank. You're only going to go so far. It's like, well, let's go to Ohio. It's closer, and Jennifer has been years away from her family, so that's the place. We're going to go there. That's the place to be. But I don't know. It was a tough time. I mean, it tries you. Unemployment. When you've gone through. There was a time, in the beginning of you're at home, you're comfortable. You get out on your own. Then there was the very first time that it was like, oh, so that's what it's like to be on food stamps. That's what it's like to be monitored of everything you buy, of, oh, you have to put back that. Then it's like, oh, I'm in IT. Boom, I'm making money. This is awesome. And it isn't until you reach a high that you crash, that you like, what's going on? 11 months, no work, trying to find work, and, putting in all these things. And, luckily, I don't, Lizzie's not here, but her dad was a church member from here, and was like, well, I know there's this place that he was working at the time. He's like, they might have an opening. So at the time when I'm at my lowest, I'm like, okay, forget it. I'm tired. If I can't do what I was professionally trained, okay, you saw the history, professionally trained. Okay, so if we can't do that, let me go do something, I don't know. I'll go to McDonald's. McDonald's, Taco Bell, who cares? There's a body. They'll hire me. But then I tried this other thing, and when you're dealing with, the depression of all that, but of course you don't tell anyone. You're like, hey, this is a great church to be. I'll get up here, I'll sing, I'll do all these things in church. This is awesome. Then you get home and it's like, ugh, really? Do we have to go back next week? And then, of course, other things come in life, and it's like, do we really want to go back there, to that group, to those that are still looking at, what is it, sight or faith? This is a reoccurring theme throughout this. Is it the sight of what everything looks? Are we still stuck in that? When I was looking at that, and I was just, I try to be careful with being angry, but I was angry a lot. I was angry a lot of other things, but when you have to be nice, it's like, it comes out in other things. If you don't deal with these different emotions that you have, and if you have a tendency like me to bottle it all up, it's like, yeah, everything's good. I'm in a great mood. It comes out elsewhere. It comes out with relationships, your own family, beyond that. But remember what I said earlier? Adoptee relationships. Still, after 40-some years, my circle of friends, my friend list is on one hand. I don't trust beyond a very few amount of people that are true friends. It's my nature. Where do you start channeling this? Oh, video games, yes. You can take out your aggressions. You can beat up all those virtual things. You have power back. You have power back. Powerless. And then you feel powerful. Powerless. Isn't that what we, over this past year, have all been dealing at a macro scale? We all feel powerless. It's like, I can't make a change. I can't do this. I don't believe, I believe. I don't believe because I don't believe I'm here because I believe I'm there. And the twain shall not meet because we're still stuck with sight. What does it look like? What is being fed? I started living multiple lives, Oh, work is now getting to the point where, hey, I can travel now. Yes, I can escape my dreary Ohio life, and I can go to the sunny shores of California and work too much and not experience any of the things. People were always saying, oh, you're flying to California. That must be awesome. Love the beach. And I was always like, yes, I love the beach. I wave at it every time the plane banks. In 6 years, I went to the beach 3 times. One of them was a vacation with my wife. Another one was when I was discovering, some places because I became a workaholic. Because what happens when you are feeling empty and you're feeling, you need power back? Work. And for me, it was work. For someone else, it was something else. During this project, others got divorced, others alcoholics, others, and that was the connection in December. Someone that I worked with there is no longer with us. And I had pushed off to the tertiary all the people from high school and all the people from grade school and all the other people that I thought, we're not the same, until I heard about their depressing thoughts that led them to also no longer be with us. And I remember throughout all this, I've had the same thoughts. I've battled the same things of what's that life insurance policy look like? Which is better? It's a terrible place to be in. It's a terrible thought. And you look back and it's like the only way you actually made it through was because of God, family, and church. Not always does everyone have that luxury. Over my 43 years, I've come across some people that they don't have that family. I've met others that it's like their childhood, they wanted to run away as quickly, as fast as they could. And you listen to them and you actually listen and you're like, wow, if only there was a place that was like a hospital that didn't judge you based upon sight and would let you in and talk to you. If only there was a place like that. Oh, church. People say church? Church? Yeah, okay. I remember those things of, look at that. They tried to show up with shorts. I don't know about that. Jewelry, ooh. All those other things. Not everyone has that luxury of a church that cares, that doesn't judge. Not everyone has that luxury of the family. Not everyone has a support system. And that's sad. That's a sad reality for so many. So I'm looking at this and it's like, I keep on coming back to this question, this theme. Am I living by faith or by sight? Am I continually caught up in what I appear and what others appear like? It's an interesting thing. Going back into my studies, I came back to there are people in the Bible that are similar. There are people in the Bible that had to deal with depression. There are people in the Bible that were very low in their thoughts. So as we go and we look at this is 2 Kings 19, 3 through 6. Elijah was afraid and ran for his life. When he came to Beersheba in Judah, he left his servant there, while he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness. He came to a broom bush, sat down under it, and prayed that he might die. I've had enough, Lord. Take my life. I am no better than my ancestors. And then he lay down under a bush and fell asleep. So I'm going to pause there for a moment, because this is Elijah. Elijah, right after he had the top of the world experience, he was there. He was on fire for God. He had just, they had just destroyed the prophets of Baal. They had proved that God is more powerful. He should have had it all. He should have had the belief. And it was just this one little thing, this one little voice. Jezebel hates you. Jezebel's going to come after you. She wants you dead. And it just crumbled. His belief that inner demons that we all deal with of, I don't believe, I don't have faith, I am stuck with what I see. So then what happens here? He laid down under a bush and fell asleep. All at once an angel touched him and said, "Get up and eat." He looked around, and there by his head was some bread, baked over hot coals and a jar of water. He ate and drank, and then lay down again. I have a challenge for all of us. Can we not be the angel to those around us? Can we not be just the ones to do nothing more than to give the food, to give the nourishment, and let someone rest? You can't go and try to say, oh, well, you see, your problem is, and if you would just, no, if we would just stop, pause, and reach out. There are those around us that come into our life every day. Okay, so we're at Zoom meetings. Oh, they don't come into my life. Some of us still have family members at home. There's people that come into your life that you work with every day. There's some of us that have jobs, but we still have to go out and see people. There's still an opportunity. God is still putting in front of all of us, even if it's online, even if it's into that little social thing of like, oh, I want to. Stop. Pause. Listen. Be the nourishment. Be like the angel. There's a lot of people that are around us that are going through things that you just don't understand, that you couldn't really see what's going on underneath the surface. As it continues here, the angel of the Lord came back a second time and touched him and said, "Get up and eat, for the journey is too much for you." Twice. Do we just go out the first time of like, okay, this is my job, it's the weekend, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and I'm going to go back and check it off. Yep, I was good, I helped people, yep, I didn't hit like on that, and I didn't dislike, and I didn't send that mean tweet. There's a second. People are still hurting. This is March 6th. A year ago, we were just entering that lockdown phase, then that's lasted for a year, it feels like. During this time and during our next year, are we going to stop, pause, look at those around us, and be able just to say, don't worry, here's just a little food, no judgment, no anything. Here, offering. Your journey is hard. We know that. So he got up, he ate and drank, and he went in the strength of that food 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb, the mountain of God. There he went into the cave and spent the night. And the word of the Lord came to him. "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He replied, "I have been very zealous for the Lord God Almighty. The Israelites have rejected your covenant, torn down your altars, and put your prophets to death with the sword. I am the only one left, and now they're trying to kill me too." So it's the challenge of like, I'm laying it out. This life is rough. I've gone through all this. This, because, human nature today and back then with Elijah is still the same. It doesn't matter how many happy things have occurred. It doesn't matter how many good things. Always it's in your mind, that person who told you you're not good enough. You're not fast enough. You're not the right color. You're not the right insert whatever. It always comes back to that. We always get stuck on that negative and not on the positive. There's a lot here to dig into with the Bible. It's kind of interesting if we study. The Lord said, "Go out and stand on the mountain in the presence of the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by." Then a great and powerful wind tore the mountains apart and shattered the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind, there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, he pulled his cloak over his face and went out and stood at the mouth of the cave. And a voice said to him, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" How much of all things around us, social, media, all the rest of it, is just blasting at you, blasting message after message. Message of like, oh, don't do this. Oh, do this. Oh, look this. Oh, share this. Share this, and you'll get. God's not in the noise. He's not in the chaos. He is in the gentle. And it's only if you can pause that, it's only if you can look and spend that time in trying to find that gentle, still small voice. And it still comes back to, what are you doing here? Why are you here? So, I'm going to look at this. This is the Elijah three-part plan. And the Elijah three-part plan, I think, is something that can help us let go, listen, and act. Letting go. I laugh because letting go is one of the hardest things to do. Letting go, it's like, oh, yeah. And especially for me, because like I pointed out, of like, I don't trust. So letting go, that doesn't fit with my whole trust, but verify. I say this, I mean, my kids may laugh because a lot of these things are things that I say a lot. Trust, but verify. Sure, you can go out and do whatever, but I remember what I did. I'm going to verify. Just letting go. Letting go. Easier said than done. I know that this is one of the other hard parts. Listen. There was this old saying of basically saying, if you're talking, you're not listening. If you're sitting with a person and you're talking, it's very hard to listen at the same time. And it's very hard to hear that we're surrounded by people in pain. We're surrounded with people that are hurting. And we have an opportunity to help, to be that angel of mercy to our family, to our friends, to our community, if we would just stop and listen. Part 3 is act. One thing that I've learned in this past year, and this is going to be one of those things of, it works for me, but it may not work for everyone. I find that if you fill all those idle moments with doing and with service, it's difficult to feel sorry for yourself. I've been working with this media ministry for over a year. My weeks, like this past week has been crazy, 50-hour work week, then doing a schedule of creating media content to go on a website, and doing prepping for a sermon that was long overdue, but just like in college, I would write, that 7,000-word, essay the night before. Some things never change. But I have found out that if I act and if I'm doing, it's very difficult to get caught up in all these other petty things. I'm loving that, Lizzie and has this whole, we've been doing this monthly, the Operation Hunger, and when you find that you're physically out there doing something, you're physically out there giving, and when you're physically involved, there's very little time to come back and be like, so that's what's going on Facebook. I don't like that. I have words to say. Here they go. When I come back home, it's like social. Other than posting our church content, no, I don't got time for that. I'm going to go to sleep. Earlier I said, video games. So they have gone down out of a have to do all the time to like, my kids would like me to play in that game, and I haven't been in there in like 4 days. And earlier in my life, that wouldn't have been, saying 4 days, I just don't have time. Act, do, find service, send that word of encouragement, and you'd be surprised. Start living by faith, not by sight. Because it's taken me a while to get to that point, but I realize I am not a mistake, and neither are you.